Hey everyone, we're doing something new here. As a way to get out more relevant, irreverent, and fun content on a more ongoing basis, we're going to take a little bit of a walk and we're going to talk about photography, cinematography, gear, and the philosophy of the crafts that we do. But it won't be just my mug, we're going to have a lot of our friends along for the ride. Some of the best image makers in the country will be joining us, and we're going to take a field trip from time to time. So please stay with us for our very first episode. But before we begin, cue the fancy intro. Okay, so gear reviews. I know what you're thinking. I represent a retail organization. How could I possibly give you an honest review? But you have to keep in mind that, like all retailers, Vistek wants you to be happy with your product. So when we do a gear review, we're trying to be as honest and as truthful as possible so that you get the information you need to make the right purchase. The second thing is Vistek has been pretty amazing at letting me be opinionated and honest with my reviews. Gone are the days of the whole payola scheme where brands would kind of like encourage retailers or vendors to fudge their reviews or fudge their opinions. But what you're seeing now is companies like Sony or Nikon are actually sending YouTubers at their expense to go and review their products with no expectation that they actually deliver an honest review. So you can really expect now that the onus is on the manufacturer to deliver a good product, and it's your job to figure out if that product is right for you. Okay, so here are 5 things that you need to know about gear reviews. The most common comment that I get is, why didn't you test for this, or could you have tested for that, or what are your thoughts on whatever? And the reason is because gear reviews by their very nature are subjective. If you put a camera in my hands, for example, I'm gonna test it in the only way that I know how, based on my biases, based on my experiences, based on my interest. And so I'm gonna give you that subjective viewpoint. That's why no gear review is an island to itself, and that you need to be looking at a few different ones to get the whole picture. Number 2 is time. We don't have unlimited time with the product. Sometimes we get a week, sometimes we get a day, sometimes we get only a couple of hours. And so in each particular case, we try to distill down what are the most important features that are relevant to you with that product. We also don't have a huge budget. Sometimes we have zero budget. And so all we get is a parking lot, or we get a closet, and we've got to do all our tests in that. And so it's a challenging environment to try to get you a comprehensive view of this product with limited time and budget. Number 3 is not all gear reviews are created equal. If you've been following YouTube gear reviews for a while, you know that it's a first past the post system, which means that the first person to get their gear review out gets the most amount of viewers. And so what will happen is that a manufacturer will release a new product, have a sort of a online reveal, and within 20 minutes of that, somebody will be posting on YouTube a full review of this product, which is just a social commentary on what they saw 20 minutes prior. Now, I'm not to say that those don't have value, because if those come from a respected cinematographer or a respected photographer with a lot of experience, then their opinion actually does matter. But all I'm saying is you should really question who is delivering the content, and that means more than anything else. Which brings me to number 4, pre-production versions. Ideally, you want to actually get a physical product in your hand to test. But the problem with that is we often get versions that are pre-release or pre-production that have all sorts of bugs and glitches, particularly in their firmware. So we try to tell you that. We try to say this is probably a firmware issue and will be fixed by the time the product gets to the customer. But you have to keep in mind that with a lot of reviewers, these are the versions they're getting. So to take their experience with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to firmware. And last but not least is sometimes it pays to be less. Now, not necessarily for the YouTuber, because that means less views and less eyeballs on their video, but it also means that we can watch some of the videos that came out at the start and answer some of the unanswered questions from the earlier reviews. So it's really recommended that you watch reviews that have been made when the product was released, and reviews that came along maybe 2 weeks, a month, or 2 months actually after the product has been released. So my advice is, first and foremost, YouTube gear reviews are awesome. I mean, I watch them just as much, if not more, than I actually make them. But you have to realize that they're just really a launching point for you to investigate your own preferences, and that they shouldn't be taken as holistic gospel about this product. Ideally, there's no substitution for you actually getting that product in your hands, whether you borrow it or rent it, so that you can test it and use it in the way that matters the most to you. And really, that YouTube videos are just there to supplement that investigation. So I hope this was informative. I hope this was educational. I hope this was entertaining, because that's all I got.